Race 1B for the Mazda MX-5 Championship about to get underway here at a sunny Snetterton 300 circuit in Norfolk. Richard Wootton has got the pole position for our first B race, and remember the top 5 finishes from this race get promoted onto the A grid later on this weekend. Here is the grid in full then. Wootton with Owen Mills alongside him. Nick Ledoyen and Ivan Leary share row 2 ahead of Oliver Jenkins and Graham Rumsey, who was handed a 5-place grid penalty from the previous event at Anglesey. Bruce Robinson and Jake Stiles are next ahead of Tom Mallett and Aaron Dinapola. Stuart Ross French and Tim Dorr are on the 6th row ahead of Christian Dan and Pete Tyler. Barry Liversidge and Jack Lemmer next ahead of Christian Ginn and Alan Hawkins, with Adam Tyler and Richard Bartlett to round out the top 20. It is a 27-car entry in the B group here today, and those top 5 positions always fiercely fought for. And with the slipstreaming Snetterton 300 circuit to play on, we should be in for some cracking racing action across the 3 B races here this weekend. The black and yellow car of Richard Wootton on pole position, the orange and white of Owen Mills alongside him. Who gets the jump? Who gets into Rich's corner first? It will, well, I was going to say almost certainly be Richard Wootton, but that was mainly because there was a fairly disappointing start for Owen Mills from the outside of row 1, but then there's contact and Wootton ends up suddenly slowing and gets elbowed out of the way by Nick Ledoyen. So it will, after all, be Mills that leads into turn 1. Graham Rumsey, I think, might have got into 2nd position. So everyone now gets safely through the first corner, having reached it in more or less one piece, but yeah, I think they do. But there was quite a lot of argy-bargy there before we even reached turn number 1. On board with Bruce Robinson now, defending the inside, lots of locking up going on further back. Christian Dan there, the blue 27 car goes up the inside. To the outside, running wide is Tom Mallett onto the grass, almost onto the Snetterton 200 layout there, so wide was he coming out of the Wilson hairpin. Jake Stiles, that is, in the turquoise number 2 car, who we're trying to go around the outside of, and succeeding in doing so, I think. So it's Owen Mills that leads the way. Graham Rumsey is 2nd. Nick Ledoyen appears to be 3rd, with Richard Wootton, the pole sitter, down to 4th. Possibly has Ivan Leary up the inside, actually. Yes, he does. Leary trying to go through a D'Agostini. Can't quite do it, though. That was a very, very frenetic start. The run to the first corner is crucial, but I don't quite know what happened to Richard Wootton, because he got a good start and then suddenly seemed to slow and get elbowed out of the way by the cars behind him. And that has cost him dear, but as long as he stays in that top 5, the promotion spot will still beckon. On the brakes into Woggies now. Lots of battling going on further back as drivers try to get into that top 5, or towards that top 5 at least. The first lap of the race, seeing lots and lots of action already. Alan Hawkins there, the multicoloured 722 car going on the attack as they turn through Williams. There, the 291 car is also making progress. That is Luke Such, who is trying to get a toe down the back straight, but that is only part of the battle. You then got to execute the manoeuvre under braking as well. And that's easier said than done, but not if your name is Bruce Robinson, because that was a brilliant out-braking move up the inside. Onto the grass, I think, has gone Christian Dan there further back, so place gained for Robinson. Several places lost for Dan, though, unfortunately, as the 10 car of Tom Mallett also goes on the inside. Into Coram Corner. Leary there, the yellow-fronted car. Under quite a lot of pressure from the car behind as well. Jake Stiles also starting to find a bit more pace as the season goes on now. There, the 173 car is Stuart Ross French, who I believe is making his first appearance in the championship, with a novice cross on the back of his car suggests that he is a relative rookie as well. Richard Wootton, meanwhile, alongside for, what's this, 3rd place that he's dicing away for with Nick Ledoyen for. Can't go right around the outside though, cuts back to the inside on the exit maybe. Richard Wootton, no, can't do that either, so Richard tries and might, can't come back into this 3rd place, but he'll be kicking himself for whatever happened at the start. And it was Nick Ledoyen, the man in front of him, that he tangled with on the run into that first corner too. Cars running wide further back through the Wilson hairpin, and that allows Alan Hawkins up the inside of Jake Stiles. The leading 2 though checking out here, and Owen Mills has got quite a bit of pressure here from Graham Rumsey, who did actually qualify 2nd quickest on this grid, the position actually that Owen Mills started from, but that 5-second penalty from Anglesey carried over and meant that he started 6th instead of 2nd, so that's why Rumsey was a bit out of position, but already is showing good pace. And any time getting back into that 2nd place from where he will feel he should have started. And he's latched right onto the tail of the leader, leaving these 2 behind, who are fighting over the 3rd position at the moment. And arguably that is where the battle's going to be, I think, really, because These are positions that are only just inside that all-important transfer window, the top 5. In 5th position there in the background, while Ivan Leary is 6th, trying to get that 5th place away. I didn't quite spot actually who was in 5th position. Possibly Oliver Jenkins, I think. Try and pick that up in a moment. They come back towards us underneath the circuit access bridge at the end of the Bentley Straight, side by side for 3rd. Richard Wootton going around the outside of Nick Ledoyen. Is he going to be able to go through? Yes, he is. And moves ahead of the number 60 car. And behind, no change in the order for 5th, but I think, yeah, that is the 57, isn't it, Oliver Jenkins, who is in 5th place. How much longer, though, because Ivan Leary is really applying pressure now as they head back round towards the completion of lap number 2. Then back into that 3rd place now. So he has got ahead of Nick Ledoyen, and now will try and set off after the leading 2, but I don't think he's going to have an easy time catching them. Bruce Robinson also trying to tag along with that little group, so things are starting to settle down a bit now as we move into the middle portion of this race. Not at the front, it's not, though. Things are just starting to come alive, I think, between the top 2. Graham Rumsey really now is starting to ask all the right questions of race leader Owen Mills. Need maybe to defend slightly into the Wilson hairpin. It's a bit wide through the apex as a result. Rumsey can't quite get his nose fully alongside, and the next corner is a left-hander anyway, so never really that likely to be able to make that move stick. Down the hill, you can see just how much elevation change there is here, actually, for an old airfield circuit. Snetterton is quite hilly, actually. Maybe hill is a strong word, but certainly there is a rise and fall to the circuit. Through this infield section, that adds an extra technical challenge to what is already a very technically challenging layout. The Snetterton 300 circuit really has a bit of everything. Has some high-speed corners, particularly the bits of the circuit that were part of the original layout through Riches, Coram, the Bomb Hole, all those iconic old-school Snetterton corners. But then on the infield section, it gets a bit tighter through the Wilson hairpin, Agostini, Oggies that they've just gone through. And then back around onto the pit straight, or the back straight I should say, where Graham Rumsey will no doubt try to get a bit of a toe here on the race-leading Owen Mills car. Is he going to be able to make something stick down the end of the straight? He looks to the inside, and Owen Mills might have to concede here. Yeah, Rumsey's gone through. Nice move there from Graham, and I think he had the benefit there of knowing that Mills wasn't likely to fight that too hard. These two, if they don't run into each other or get any penalties, are almost guaranteed to finish 1-2. That, it goes without saying, is enough to score a transfer spot. So Owen Mills down into 2nd place then. Graham Rumsey leading the way, also the leading Masters contender in this race, fighting with the likes of Ivan Leary and Tim Dorr for Masters honours in this one. They're not overall front runners in the Masters Championship though, because people like Martin Tolley, for example, who are regularly running in the A groups, they're leading the championship challenge for the Masters, but for this race in particular, well, he's going rather well in that category. But Owen Mills proving me wrong here. I thought he might have been content. Oh, Graham Rumsey loses it. Graham Rumsey spins away from 2nd place. Oh, that was completely unnecessary, and he will now drop out of that top 5, surely. Yes, there he goes, out of the top 5. He's got to wait for a gap in the traffic now to get to the back on the road again. That was an absolute disaster for Graham Rumsey, and an unforced error, really. Those two were so far ahead. I was about to comment that I was a bit surprised that Owen Mills had felt the need to really race hard for the victory there, but he made a nice move up the inside. It was fair and square, and Rumsey, in trying to fight back on the exit of the corner, actually ended up spinning away, potentially, a chance of getting a transfer spot for race 2. So, drama indeed then in the early stages relatively. We're only just over a third of the way through this race. Graham Rumsey already potentially taking himself out of contention for a transfer spot. Jake Stiles on the inside of Alan Hawkins. Goes through. The road, looks like Nick Ledoyen is scrapping away as well. And this battle raging actually between these two, and it has been for most of the race. These two have been latched together. Ivan Leary just up the road from them will now potentially have inherited the Masters class lead, I think. Someone's on the dirt further up the road. It's all going on here, isn't it, at Snetterton in this opening B race. Actually, race 1 is the calmer of the 3 races because they've still got to look after the cars for races 2 and 3 later on, but it's all been kicking off so far in this one. So there are your leaders then. Owen Mills leads, Richard Wootton second, and then this is the fight for 3rd place. Oliver Jenkins and Nick Ledoyen. Nick Ledoyen hanging on to it for now. And I think it is Tim Dorr in 5th position. So actually Tim looks to be the leading Masters contender in this race. And then Jake Stiles here racing with Alan Hawkins, another Masters racer. 173 Stuart Ross French making an impressive debut in the championship as well. So some nice stories here towards the back end of the top 10. As they round Coram into Murray's corner again, and things just for a very brief moment starting to calm down a little. But for how much longer, you have to wonder. Still a long way to go in this race, and yeah, here we go again, side by side for 3rd place. Nick Ledoyen defending that 3rd position as they cross the start-finish line, and around the outside is looking to go Oliver Jenkins. Can he maybe get the over-under? A little more successfully than Graham Rumsey managed a lap ago. Well, he doesn't spin, which is a start, but he doesn't manage to get up the inside. And meanwhile, the race leaders getting themselves closer together. Owen Mills, now that he doesn't have Graham Rumsey to play with, appears to have chopped back into the clutches of Richard Wootton. Now, I'm sure that's not intentional, but it does guarantee that we will still have a bit of a race for the lead here, I think. Mills, maybe without his reference now of Graham Rumsey to run with, he's maybe not been able to go quite as quickly on this lap, and so Richard Wootton has closed in now and is within striking range potentially to go for the race lead, not into Agostini, but perhaps later on in the lap. This next battle starting to develop quite nicely with Tim Dorr closing in as well. Tim started 12th on the grid there, the yellow and green car, number 37. Driven well to get into the top 5, picked his way through some other people's dramas, made some nice overtakes as well early on, and he's now closing in on the podium runners. He at the moment is on the bubble, 5th place, the last of the drivers that will transfer at the moment. So he'll be wanting to try and make that a little bit more comfortable if he can and get another place or 2, and this battle in front might be his ticket to do that, because through into 3rd place now has gone Oliver Jenkins, but Nick Ledoyen of course is fighting straight back, and this is all going to allow Tim Dorr to close on the pair of them. We'll have a double slipstream now down the back straight. It's side by side for the race lead as well, and Richard Wootton going around the outside of Owen Mills. Is he going to go through? Yes, nicely done round the outside at Brundle, and as long as he gets the car stopped, which he does, just a pout, and Mills was sideways anyway. Richard Wootton then into the lead of the race now. Mills down to 2nd, will try and hang with him, but doesn't actually seem to have the pace now for whatever reason. The tyres are starting to go off, I suppose, but it's a bit early in the race and indeed the weekend for us to worry about that particularly, I think. It's rather hot out there, but most of these teams will run the same set of tyres all weekend long, so they shouldn't be really struggling at this relatively early stage of the weekend. You get a lot of track time for your money though in the MX-5 Championship. You get a 20-minute qualifying session, 3 20-minute races, so well over an hour's worth of track time. That's a lot of punishment for the cars and the tyres to take. 3rd place meanwhile, looks as though we're going to see a change. Tim Dorr up the inside there and goes through ahead of Oliver Jenkins into Rich's corner. So Tim Dorr really coming on strong. Clearly had a bit of a lacklustre qualifying effort, but obviously had more pace than that qualifying result would show. He qualified all the way down in 12th position. He was into 3rd, but then somehow Nick Ledoyen ends up getting past the pair of them. So Ledoyen, who refuses to say die, is back into a podium place now. These 3 don't really need to be racing like this though. They're risking losing time to the cars behind them. At the moment, they're all safely in a transfer spot, but they will always fight for every position they can. But look, there's a whole queue of cars starting to swarm around in their mirrors now. So what was a fairly straightforward, let's just get these cars home to the finish and transfer to the A grid, now becomes a real dogfight for the final 3 transfer spots. The chasing pack being headed by Bruce Robinson, Ivan Leary, Jake Stiles, Alan Hawkins are all in there, and I think that is Stuart Ross French, isn't it still? Yes, he's looking to the inside, in fact, of Hawkins into Hamilton. 3 of these drivers at the moment, you have to assume, will transfer. Not necessarily the 3 that are at the front of the queue right now, because Tim Dorr locks up into Algies, almost comes under pressure from Bruce Robinson, who in turn has Ivan Leary behind, and they are now, I believe, along with Tim Dorr. Yes, they're the 3 leading Masters contenders. So this is a fight not only for transfer spots, but also for a class win. You do score points within the Masters contingents as well, so well worth going for these places. Back round the outside goes Oliver Jenkins on Nick Ledoyen. He's back into third. This third place changing almost by the corner now. Ledoyen thinking about fighting Pat, but around the outside of the bomb hole. That's not advisable, Nick. Pan round. We'll see if he has indeed decided against it. Well, sort of. He's still sniffing around the outside, but Jenkins will hang on. This is now turning into a really good battle. 2, 4, 6, 8 of them, nose to tail through Coram Corner. All of them fighting for third position, with Richard Wootton and Owen Mills having pulled away now at the head of the field. On board with Bruce Robinson, looking back at Ivan Leary, who we are pulling away from, so clearly Bruce has had a good exit from the final corner, picking up a toe from the cars in front, no doubt, as well, right against the pit wall as well, to try and minimise the wind resistance and the effect of any sort of wind that's blowing across the pit straight. Ivan Leary, the inside of Jake Styles, defending the inside line from Jake Styles, more to the point. Alan Hawkins trying to join in the fun as well, looking to the inside, and he might be able to get past Styles here into the Wilson hairpin. Oh, sideways for Jenkins as well at the front of the group, and he's going to open the door once again to Nick Ledoyen. This has been a fabulous battle between the two of them, and Nick Ledoyen, every time it looks like he's been beaten, somehow finds himself back alongside. We're about to appear into shot at the top of the screen, and they're still side by side, but Nick Ledoyen now cutting back to the inside towards Agostini. At the head of the field there, you can see that Owen Mills is not being dropped by Richard Wootton by any stretch. The fight for third, and it will still be the 57 car of Jenkins that hangs on, but he was very wide into Agostini. Lots of smoke. Let's hope he got away with that. He did, but he might be a bit slow off the corner. Ledoyen, though, has his own issues, trying to keep Tim Dorr and Bruce Robinson behind. And there, I think I caught a glimpse, by the way, of the recovering Graham Rumsey, who is not a million miles behind this group, and with still about a third of the race to go, could Graham Rumsey maybe get himself into a top 5 position? Someone's on the grass. Who's kicking up the dirt as they come through Oggies. Everyone's still there, so whoever it was didn't lose too much time. Very hot day here as well, so the slightest grassy moment will kick a lot of dust up into the air and make it look a bit more dramatic maybe than it was. What's Nick Ledoyen doing? He's over on the right-hand side of the road. He's not really attacking and not really defending either, just trying to break the toe, I think, from the cars behind. Tim Dorr still there in the green and yellow car. He's 5th and on the bubble. Bruce Robinson, the first man who would miss out at the moment from a transfer spot. Alan Hawkins, having got past Ivan Leary, then undone all of his hard work and slides wide out of Nelson. Ivan's on the inside again through the bomb hole. Jay Styles, tried to get to the inside, had to slam on the brakes, and so Stuart Ross French thinks, I know, I'll go around the outside of everyone at one of the most challenging corners on the circuit, Coram Corner. He might pick up at least one place there at the expense of Jake Styles, though, I reckon. Ahead of him, Bruce Robinson there in that 6th position, trying everything he can to get past Tim Dorr. Bruce, one of the more experienced drivers on the grid, of course, so he knows a thing or two about Mazda MX-5 racing. Black and white warning flags there being held aloft for somebody for presumably exceeding the track limits once too often, but no time penalties being given yet, I don't think, so they have one more chance. If they run off wide again, then 5 seconds will be added to their race time, whoever that was being warned. Oh, contact! Oh, Bruce Robinson into the back of Nick Ledoyen. Well, Robinson, I think, was trying to get up the inside of Tim Dorr and ended up out-braking himself, getting into the back of Ledoyen, and that's a real shame for Nick, who put up a brilliant fight in this race, and unfortunately, through no fault of his own, ends up pointing the wrong way and out of the top 5, and now, with relatively little time left to go in this race, I'm not convinced he's going to be able to fight back from that. Let's see where he rejoined. That's him, isn't it, right at the top of the shot, so he's well outside the top 5, and he's behind Graham Rumsey now, who is coming, isn't he? Graham is there, the white car just in the background, behind these two, Jake Styles and Stuart Ross French. There is Wootton, look, the white, grey and red striped car, catching up definitely, and I think that is Ledoyen, the red and white car next in the queue, so Nick, unfortunately, falls well outside that top 5, but is there an outside bet here that Rumsey could get himself into the top 5? If he can catch this group quickly, he should have the pace to get past them. We know that that car is quick, we know that he's been driving it well, but is he going to be able to find a way past enough of them. Well, if Alan Hawkins throws himself off the road, that'll help. Oh, what a save that was from Alan Hawkins. Ivan Leary didn't really know which way to go then. And so as a result, they might both be a bit slow off the corner. That was a really big save. Not the first sideways antics we've seen from Alan. Meanwhile, Bruce Robinson and Tim Dorr are now debating 4th position, and Tim Dorr goes back ahead. Robinson, after that contact, is into a top 5, and Hawkins has done it this time. That was one sideways moment too many. He'll bounce his way back on the road. Can Graham Rumsey go through? Yes, he can. So that was one easy place gained by Graham. Alan Hawkins, spectacular to watch, that driving style, but as you can see, it does bite sometimes. The point I was about to make is that Bruce Robinson is now into the top 5, but I'm pretty sure that that contact he just had with Nick Ledoyen will be investigated after the race, so it might have to be a provisional top 5, I think, given the manner in which he took it. And as we go on to the final lap of the race now, that might well be what makes the difference between who gets through and who doesn't. Looks like Richard Wootton's doing well, though, for a race victory. Therefore a guaranteed transfer spot onto the back of the A-grid for race 2 tomorrow morning. He turns through the Wilson hairpin with Owen Mills not that far behind, but he has, I think, very much settled for second now. No, he's not really under too much pressure from those behind. Richard Wootten then out of Palmer's, back down the hill. You can see the gap, the cushion that these two have built up over the rest behind. And there, in the background, is Oliver Jenkins 3rd, Tim Dorr 4th, and Bruce Robinson 5th, and someone's on the grass. I think that's Jake Stiles on the grass further back, and may not rejoin the track until they reach Agostini, but there just wasn't a gap in the traffic. That's another place gained by Rumsey, and he's got past Stuart Ross French as well. So where does that put Rumsey now? 5th, 6th, 7th by my reckoning. I think he's just going to run out of time. But if he can get 6th and then there's a penalty for Robinson, that would mean that he might inherit 5th position. So he won't necessarily know about the situation with Bruce Robinson. It may even be that there is no penalty coming for Bruce, but if there were to be one, then Rumsey would much rather be 6th and therefore inheriting 5th than 7th and inheriting 6th, because that one position makes all the difference as far as what happens in the rest of your weekend. So Wootten then under the bridge, leading the way, and clips the grass, clips the curb. Doesn't really want to be taking risks like that on this final lap, but I'm sure he's just stroking it home to the flag. And Richard Wootten, a regular front runner in these B races this year, has really put on a good show. He didn't start off all that strongly in this race, but having started from pole position, he found himself getting mugged on the run into the first corner, gradually picked his way back through, and when Graham Rumsey spun from second place, Richard was right there to inherit the position and then immediately applied the pressure to the leader and found a way through. And Richard Wootten, therefore, comes out of the final corner and is about to see the checkered flag to win race 1B here for the Mazda MX-5 Championship at Snetterton. Richard Wootten does it, a nice, comfortable victory from pole position, but there was a lot more that went on in between. Second place goes the way of Owen Mills. Third is going to go the way of Oliver Jenkins, just, I think, from Tim Dorr 4th, and Bruce Robinson a provisional 5th position. Confirmation of the result then, and as we suspected, there is a penalty in the end for Bruce Robinson. So Graham Rumsey, who got 6th on the last lap, then inherits 5th and a transfer spot. Remarkable stuff. Ivan Leary is 6th, Stuart Ross French, Alan Hawkins, Jack Lever and Nick Ledoyen recovered to 10th, but will be frustrated with that result. Jake Stiles was disqualified post-race. Pete Tyler and Aaron Danapola were non-finishers, so James Love and Jonathan Fieldsend will join them at the back of the field, having been the last 2 finishers in the race.
Richard, huge congratulations, not just for coming pole in race 1B today here at Snetterton, but also this is your first podium win.
It is, yeah, absolutely delighted. Thank you to Brian, he's put in a lot of hard work both this year and last year, putting a great car together for me. It's finally got there, missed out a few times, but delighted to finally get on that top step.
Quickly talk me through that race, because those temperatures were in over 30 degrees.
Yeah, it was mad. It was just melting in the assembly area before going out. So yeah, got a terrible start. I think I was down to 5th by the hairpin. But luckily I was able to battle back a little bit. There's a few moments where the tyres were going off and I was kind of sliding all over the place, but held it together, luckily, and yeah, kept it and got past the line on first.
So very quickly, tomorrow you'll be going up into the A, so you'll be in a race with Adam. You guys got a game plan you can have there?
Oh, I mean, Adam's a few rows ahead of me, but keep an eye on that yellow car of his and try and catch him if I can.